everyone, I'm Gems. I'm the Regional Director here for K-12 across APAC for Instructure, and welcome to Beyond the Canvas, where we talk about the people and the stories shaping education. Today, I am super duper excited to have Glory Puljak on the show with me today. Glory, if you could introduce yourself, and thanks for being here.
Hi everyone, my name's Glory. I work for the Anglican Schools Corporation, predominantly around Sydney and regional New South Wales. And my role is the Manager of Innovation Education.
Awesome. I love that title, Manager of Innovation and Education, because I think there's so many opportunities to sort of innovate within education. But back in the day, that wouldn't have been a thing, right? And innovation is so exciting for me. And that's part of the reason why I wanted you on today, right? So you were one of the first customers that I spoke to when I came back to Instructure, and learning the K-12 landscape, and, you know, each sort of school is different, each organization is different. And what stood out to me was actually just your drive and how you sort of run it, right? And run the schools and how you're leveraging Canvas. But first of all, I want to know a little bit about you, as in what drives you and how you got into education.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a long story, so I'll cut it a bit short. So I have always been a teacher. So I've been teaching, I had been teaching for about 14 years, and I was at that point where I was an assistant principal thinking, do I get to a principal level, or what do I do with my career? And at that time, I was the the ICT manager at the same time, and really looking at I was in a cluster of Catholic schools, really looking at their head office and thinking, how can I be part of what they're doing? It was really exciting. They were doing Google rollouts and a whole range of things. And then the Anglican Schools Corporation, it just appeared in like an ad. And I went, oh, wow, this is exactly the role that I'm after. And so I got that role, and it was really exciting because at that time we had just had an internal mix-up of where our schools were at in ICT. And so my role was to integrate ICT into the classrooms with some of these schools. And all of a sudden, come a couple of years later, all 20 schools were involved in our ICT management. So we manage all 20 schools. And so part of my role was to go and visit these schools and see what they were doing in the teaching and learning space. And that was really exciting for me. And then Canvas came along. We had just signed up for Canvas, and it was a board requirement that every school use Canvas. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a big job. How am I going to do this? And we started off with a conference. That's how we started off. And we invited all the schools to come to a conference, which was at the Pullman. And they all wanted to learn about Canvas. And it was fantastic because I had all these managers from Canvas, customer success managers, and we did 3 days of intense Canvas training with these champions at every school. And so I led that, I organized that. And then it was up to me to make sure they were really integrating Canvas, how they were going on their journey, and then using data to inform where they needed to go next. So
that is quite a story. That is. And so how long have you sort of had Canvas for?
9 years.
9 years.
9 years all up. Yes.
So you were one of our first.
Yes. So I've seen it come a long way. Yes.
Absolutely. I think also you've sort of said to me in one of our first conversations, you've been working with Paul and had that relationship with Paul
for a long time. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I think the adoption and how you brought everyone together, even like just as that started, is just mind-blowing to me, right? Like it just makes so much sense that you invested in all of those schools to get them all together to do that intense training all together. So something that I always say about sort of change management, that people approach it differently when things are happening with them, not to them. So even though it was sort of like mandated and all of the things, and it was the board decision, right? The fact that everyone was sort of a part of that right from the get-go, rather than and it built a community, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. They were all so excited because at that time we didn't have any learning management system, and every school was doing different things. Some were doing some things in, Docs, and some things in Google. At that time, Google Classrooms wasn't really hitting the mark. And so it was brand new, shiny, and really exciting. And they really wanted the kids to really get involved. So that was the driving force, making a difference to the kids. And
Mhm.
also being Anglican schools and independent schools, they wanted a point of difference from
Yeah.
other schools around the area. So they wanted to say, well, this is what we do and look how amazing we are. So
Well, and I think that's the thing, right? Like the way that you just adopted it and brought it on is already just amazing, right? But then what is that differentiator, right? So now Canvas has been around for a while, and when I walk into my demos with new schools considering it, I always ask whoever is in that room, hands up, who's had exposure to Canvas.
yeah,
And it is very rare that I will have anyone go, we've never seen it before, right? And that is fantastic. But something that I've identified coming back is that Canvas has changed a lot. And I'm starting to see that, schools like you've had it for, 9 years now, that it's kind of like a marriage. People forget why you fell in love with Canvas in the first place, and you have to continually work at that.
yes.
How do you sort of manage that, when you've got sort of schools that are going, yeah, we've got Canvas, and how do you keep that, excitement alive, I guess, like that?
Well, I sort of look at it from I choose a school that's really utilizing it well, and I
Mhm.
showcase that school. But not only that, in that sense, I tell them what the kids say. So I give feedback from the kids.
Oh,
And so I say, listen to and I've actually got a couple of recordings of a couple of kids that allow me to video them. Say, look what the kids are saying at their school, what they love about Canvas and what they hate about Canvas. And the biggest thing they hate is the inconsistency between courses. So I
yeah.
said, well, that you don't want to make that mistake. Let's have a look at why they love it. Let's adopt the reasons behind that, because so often schools think, oh, this is going to be too hard for teachers and it's in the too hard basket. They can't do it. They don't have IT skills. Well, I'm sorry, it's 2025 and we need to get with the program now. And if
Mhm.
you are having problems, then you need to seek help. And then because we need to remember that kids know more than us when it comes to IT. So how are we going to make their lives easier
Mhm.
by making sure Canvas works for them? At the moment, I'm really pushing towards making sure that they're using all spectrums for children for um, handing in work. So we're looking at the SAMR model and making sure that they're doing all things when it comes to, okay, if you've got an assignment, how am I going to present this? Well, I'm really good at videos and I'm going to make a video. I'm going to hand that in. I'm actually really good at, making collages. So I'm going to hand that in as a collage. So really looking at kids as a whole and what is it that they can do to make their education a bit more exciting.
There's so many elements of what you just said that I want to draw down on. So one is obviously the different styles that you look at for the student, right? You just talked about, I'm really great at making videos, so I want to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Right. For me, that is absolute game changer because, meeting the kid at where they're at and sort of enhancing on what they're good at, not what they're bad at. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, sure,
Exactly.
there's certain elements that we have to test and make sure that they meet the requirements and the competencies and all of those things. But, I think giving the kids the choice where possible to actually submit based on what their strengths are, because it's also that engagement piece as well. Right. It's human nature that you're not going to do something that you don't really love. But if you're giving the child and the student and that learner license to submit based on what their strengths are, then I mean, that's excitement, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I think something that I want to talk about is you talked about the teachers, yes, and how you support them. And yes, it is 2025. We know that things have come quite a long way, and to the point, Canvas isn't new, right? How do you support the teachers that have been maybe a little bit resistant to adopt Canvas, but also for those teachers because, there is a teacher shortage, right? There is a skill
Mm.
shortage. How do you actually maintain and keep those teachers happy, satisfied, supported, so as they're not being bogged down with administrative tasks?
Yeah, well, I'm going to be honest with you, it's all about relationship building. Because I've been doing this role for such a long time, I actually know the schools quite intimately and I know where their weaknesses are. So I'll say, okay, I'm coming out. I want you to get a group of teachers that aren't comfortable, and I will just sit with them. And if it means I'm going to sit with them for 2 hours in an afternoon and we'll go through each individual thing that they can't do, then I'll do that. So I usually have a beginner, intermediate, and advanced group. And so that's what I'll do. Today I'm coming out doing a beginner group. What day have you got available for me? Because they don't have to pay for me. They love it when I come out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get paid by the corporation, so they can invite me 5 times a week if they wanted to. And I think that's really unique about my role, where I'm a consultant that they don't have to pay for. And so they really utilize that. And that's where the relationship building comes from. And so it's a really exciting role because of that, because you walk into a school and they're not like, oh, here's Glory again. It's like, here's Glory again. Great. What can we learn from her? And so that's why I would never leave this job, because it's just something that really gets me going. And really, that's why I wake up in the morning, because I know that they love to learn. And if it means I'm going to meet them where they're at so they can meet their students where they're at, well, that's what I'm going to do.
That point there where you're saying that, you go out to schools and everyone just wants to see you makes my heart so happy to hear that, right? Because yes, they want to learn. So we know that there's appetite for them to learn, but there aren't many organizations that sort of have a Glory.
No, I know that.
Yeah. And for me, and the success that we've seen throughout your organization is, how can we, and this is part of the reason why I wanted you, right? I wanted you on today's show because we've seen what good looks like and how this can really shape and build that adoption and sort of embed Canvas. Like I had another person on the show who said that it's an environment, right?
Yes.
It's an environment. And again, it sounds like you're doing that really well. And because it's, yay, his glory rather than his glory, right? That's a testament to you because it is relationship building. But at the same token, you're obviously breeding that culture throughout, right?
Yes.
And you're demonstrating to the teachers that, hey, using Canvas, there is a lot in it for you.
Yes.
How do you sort of how do you build that? As in, what I mean by that is, how do you demonstrate to the teachers that using Canvas can save you time? You can mark with this, you've got templates, and build that consistency.
Yeah, well, I take it back to what they're trying to achieve. So usually it's around assessments, and they know they have to do assessments. And I say, okay, let's have a pretty program. Let's have a look at your assessment. Let's have a look at your assessment schedules. Let's use Canvas now as a tool to deliver those assessments, instead of them being really overwhelmed by everything in the menu and going, oh my gosh, there's discussions, I can do this. No, well, let's just take it all the way back and start with your assessment. When we do that, then I say, okay, leading up to this assessment, what activities do the kids actually have to do? Oh, well, they need to watch a movie. Oh, really? Well, let's just put a clip in here and use Studio for this. Great. So then we're utilizing the tools of Canvas without showing them every tool. We're using it so they can build their unit of work around it, then bringing in the tools, and then they get it.
I think you've just touched on the simplicity, right? So really paring it back and meeting teachers where they're at to meet the students where they're at, right?
Right.
And sort of one of the other elements from what you said earlier is, it's not about you. It's about teaching the kids. That's why you're here, right? So Canvas, how does Canvas support that? And how do you think Canvas supports the students throughout? Like, I love that you actually take videos of kids and their feedback.
Yes.
I don't think there's many organizations that are doing that, right?
Yeah.
And I would actually like to see schools doing it more.
Yeah.
Is that a regular thing, or is that, can you talk me through that a bit, please?
Oh, look, because I'm out at schools very, very often. And so I know the kids that can be videoed. So sometimes I'll probably do it once a year. Towards the end of the year, I might do a reflection with some of the kids. So if I'm out at a meeting, I say, could I just grab a couple of kids? Yep, no worries. So I'll grab, a range of students in year 9, year 10, and I'll say, well, what have you loved about this year? Have you used Canvas? How have you found it? What have you loved? Do you mind if I video you? They love getting videoed. So that's what I do at the end of the year. So a reflective process. Then I show the school first. And I say, do you think this is okay? Yep, great. Do you mind if I show another school? Because we're in one system, we've got intellectual property, and I can just show them those videos. It doesn't go anywhere else. So.
And talking about that one school, so when you say that sort of one system, you've got Canvas as your sort of head account.
Yes.
Yep, your root account. And then each school has a different sub account off that.
Yes, correct.
Awesome. So when you're coming to those sub accounts, right,
Mhm.
do all schools have similar LTIs, permissions to use, or are things mandated across the school?
So because we have the root account, all of them have the same LTIs.
Mhm.
Some schools prefer to use other LTIs than others, and then they'll ask me as an admin, do you mind if I put this in? So we will vet that first for
Mhm.
data security,
Yeah.
and then I'll say, yep, no worries, we can put that in. Give me the details, and I will put it in. So we have to vet them first.
Mhm. Okay, that's really great. Sort of understanding sort of what that looks like, right? Because, we see different schools, they have, to your point, different LTIs and sort of how do you manage that and sort of those permissions as well, right? And then
All
also,
the permissions are the same for all of us.
yeah, that's really fantastic. And then you guys
Handy.
also recently adopted Intelligent Insights, right? Which I really love that LTI tool to show you sort of what LTIs you've got, who's
Yes,
using it, and also identify where those power users are. So to your point,
absolutely.
you can spotlight them.
Yes, absolutely. And that's really exciting. And I'm can't wait to get in there at the end of the term, because now it'll be around about the end of the term where I'll say, okay, what have people done with
Yep.
Canvas? Where are their strengths? How can I then utilize this for our next ICT conference?
And to that point, I think where are their strengths, right? Because you utilize, it's not just Canvas, right? You utilize quite a few of our Canvas partners and other ed techs and all of those types of things, right? So
Yes.
there's 2 points. One is what partners are you using and how are
Mhm.
you sort of finding the uptake?
Yes. So the major partner is City Labs,
Mhm.
and we just fell in love with City Labs because where I found the sticking point was new teachers coming in, even though I had done beginner classes, especially in junior schools, they didn't want to spend all this time making pages and beautiful pages. And as we know, Canvas as a blank canvas, sorry, pardon the pun,
No?
can be a little bit dry. And
Mhm.
especially for junior school teachers who really want, year 3 students or year 4 students to really dive in, they wanted to make it beautiful and really quick and simple. City Labs was the way to go. So when we implemented City Labs, I did a day in the office
Yeah.
for Canvas champions, and I said, right, come over. We'll start do some of this stuff. And at that time, Julian, who Julian Ridden, so he was leading that project, and so we did City Labs days once a term, and so people came on board and did City Labs days, and over the year they were champions at City Labs. So some
That's
of the
really
templates are
fantastic.
incredible. Yes.
Also, just at your individual schools, you talked about Canvas champions. Do
Mhm.
you have, I mean, we can't multiply glory, unfortunately, but do you have like Canvas champions in each individual school? Or
Yes, it's necessary because obviously I can't be in 20 places at the same time.
Mhm.
So I identify these Canvas champions every year. Sometimes they roll over, sometimes they're the same person. But once people leave, I send out a survey at the start of the year to every school. So, right, who's your head of junior school? Who's your head of senior school? Who's your Canvas champion? Sometimes there's only one, sometimes there's two. Best case scenario, there's 3 of them, because we are K to 12. So it'd be great to have one in junior school, one in senior school, and then another person that's like head of department or something.
Yeah.
And that really helps because then I can bring all the Canvas champions into the office and we can say, okay, where are you at? Where do you need to go? Let's have a look at your data. Okay, great. This is where we might need to push this. Do you need me to come out and help you? So it's those conversations that we have.
Seriously, this is like wave a magic wand, and this is like what good looks like. Like when I envision this, and we have not chatted in this much detail before about how it runs across your
We didn't
organization.
ask me these questions. Yeah.
I know, and like, mate, work in like tech education or something. It's so
Yeah.
smart. So smart. Glory, sort of talking about your conference, right? So you have them every year, and
Yes.
Canvas has been invited. I'm very, very excited. As soon as that email came through, I didn't even read it. I was like, yes.
Yes.
I didn't even know what I signed up for, right? I'm like, yes, I'm there.
Yes.
Can you talk me through sort of like the uptake of that, the excitement, sort of what that day typically looks like for your attendees?
Yeah, so we started our conference when we first implemented Canvas,
Mhm.
and then we ran one every year after that until COVID.
Mhm.
After that, it was the 2 years that we didn't run one, and we found that even though teachers were thrown into the learning from home, they still wanted more. And then going back into the classroom, it was like, well, what do I do now? That means I need to teach now. I need to actually use Canvas for teaching. And that collaboration tool sort of went out the window. So a lot of schools are saying, I would love to see what blah, blah, blah is doing or what this school's doing. I said, right, time for a conference. So part of that conference was the main goal was Canvas as well as AI. And so that was such a big thing last year, especially before ChatGPT came in, that teachers were so scared. They were like, what is the future of education? What does it look like? So I said, right, we need to calm the farm. We really need to calm the farm. Let's bring in Canvas. Let's bring in some what the roadmap looks like, and let's do some AI stuff. And we just had signups. I think we had 300 staff members come in. The only thing was that it was in between some school holidays and not school holidays for some schools. So, okay, it's finding the right date that's really hard. So we decided that we'll do it on the last day of the school holidays. So then schools didn't have to pay for a casual teacher because they don't have to pay for the conference. They come along. So this year we really wanted we take all the feedback on board, and some of the feedback was they want to do more learning. So they want to learn from the experts. So that's what this focus is, learning from you guys about, okay, this is coming out, but this is what it can do for you, and go and play with it now. They want to have something to take away that they can implement tomorrow. So if we're doing it on the last day of school holidays, what can we do on Monday with the kids? So keep that fresh in their head and really excited to try something new.
I cannot wait. Not only just for the fact is like of obviously being out and being amongst, but I can just, I've got goosebumps already thinking about the energy, right? And just seeing, because in my role, I don't get to really get down to the teachers and to ask questions. And so thank you for inviting me. Like I'm
so excited.
I'm just rocking up. I'm not really going to contribute anything. I'm just finding all of the great people to do it. But, thanks for inviting me. I'm great at buying donuts.
Yes. Good. Great.
Glory, I think also, coming from my previous role, I was working in technology as well, and I didn't finish high school, haven't been to university, and, working in tech. And I somehow sat there and I had a pinch me moment going, how did I end up here? Right.
Yeah.
And in my previous role, I worked as a mentor for young people coming in to tech, right? And women in tech, I don't know whether or not you know the ratio, but it's quite low.
Yes, I do. I work with a bunch of guys. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great because, I love my male allies, right? I also sat on the Women at Amazon board and all of those types of things, right? I always celebrate my male allies, but I'm always encouraging young people to step into IT and to consider that as a career. Because yes, I work in IT. Can I hands on keyboards and do cool stuff? No, but I work in IT. What would you say, like, did your younger Glory self, when you sort of were becoming a teacher, what would you say to her? Would you expect that your role would kind of look like this?
Look, I've always been very ambitious. It's from my family. So my dad was always, it doesn't matter what you do, just do it really well and just aim for the sky. So no dream is too big. And so when I was in the classroom, which is where I wanted to be, in the classroom, I was like, well, this can't be it. This can't be it. And so it wasn't it. And I don't know. I would probably say what my dad used to say to me. Don't put yourself in a box, and just, if you think it can't be done, just think again. It can be done, because it doesn't matter if you're male or female or how old you are or whatever it is. I say that to my daughter, and she's only 23 and she's already, doing amazing things in her career. And she said, I think I get that from you. I said, yes, I'm instilling it in you.
And I think, that's what's really exciting as well. There is so much world of opportunity, right? Yes. And, my son has learning difficulties. And I say to him, like, he's always going, oh, Mum, I just really want to get an A. I'm like, mate, I don't need you to be the smartest kid in the class. I need you to be the kindest. Like, that is what I would love to hear. But also thinking back to my relationship with education and sort of my space. Again, never in a million years. I was always a naughty kid. I blah, blah, blah. Here I am. And I think it's sort of those stories and those great teachers and those people that believe in you that shape you where you end up. Right. And I
Yes,
think it's
definitely.
believing in yourself and aiming. I always say aim for the moon and you'll land in the stars type scenario, right?
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
Sort of throughout your school and sort of teaching ITC and those types of things, do you do much coding and all, like what cool things have you seen some teachers use Canvas for?
Oh, yeah. The AI right now in some schools is absolutely incredible what they're doing in that space.
Mhm,
Really utilizing AI for kids to show them how to use technology in a really meaningful way.
mhm.
And some of the stuff, the creative things that they can do, like music and creating music and soundtracks and themes. And it's like, oh my gosh, what I could do if I was in the classroom right now with this. I just always look at things in a positive spin, not a negative spin.
Wow.
So AI at the moment is incredible. Coding, I do see a lot of coding in the junior schools when it comes to coding bots and things like that, and that's really cool. But I've seen it drop off a little bit and really take on,
Well, AI can do it now for you, can't it?
yeah, really take on some more creativity when
Mhm.
it comes to stripping everything back, being creative, and then using technology to showcase that creativity. I think that's the space because, as you said, Gems, not everyone is an A student in maths, right? We've got kids from all spectrums, and it's about time we recognize their skills for what they are and really honing in on that whole student.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, our education system doesn't allow for that because we still have to do tests and, HSC and all that stuff.
Our plan.
But even HSC is coming a long way because now kids don't have to have an ATAR. They can actually do things that really hone in on their skills with other vet courses. So there's I think it's shaping. It's slow, but we're shaping into a holistic approach with education.
I think you've also really hit the nail on the head there about sort of like looking at the whole student, right? I always said that if you judge, it's one of my favorite quotes, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's always going to be considered stupid,
Yes,
right? And I
correct.
think it sounds like you're opening it up for all student types, right?
That's
Like
right.
I am ADHD, right? So
Mm.
I was always a naughty kid in class, and yeah, granted, I was. And I think, I was having a conversation with the department the other day about how do we look at kids and how do we meet kids where they're at. So just talking about your teachers, do you, when they're sort of planning out the use of Canvas and how they're going to utilize Canvas to deliver content, do you consider like, okay, cool, we know that this child loves writing and an assessment type of work is great for them, but this kid hates reading, so we'll also offer them, can you talk me through that a bit?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, they use a lot of the LTIs as well and a lot of the technology in the classroom. So instead of, if they're doing a comprehension activity, for example, they may not ask a specific child to write it. Can you just talk me through what you heard? What did you hear? Let me record that. So then they record it, and then the feedback tool, I think that's the biggest thing about Canvas, the feedback tools. Instead of writing their comment, they actually can record their faces and say, oh my gosh, Jams, well done. I'm so proud of you. The feedback and the videoing is just incredible now. So yeah. I made you emotional.
Yeah, you have, because of the fact is that the other afternoon I was sat helping my son with a comprehension task
Yes,
and he was struggling to read it
of course.
and
Well,
write it. And
now these days you don't even need it. You need AI to tell you what the story's about, or read it for you, and you can read it with the text.
and I said to him, he was like, "This is stupid," and he was getting exceptionally frustrated. The school
Frustrating.
doesn't have an LMS, which, and he was getting exceptionally frustrated. And I said to him, "I'm like, mate, yes, I completely understand." I'm like, "But you need to see why the school is asking you to do this. It's not just to learn about the monarchy, right?
Yeah.
It's about for you to understand and do problem solving and making sure that you understand the information, right?" And he was utilizing Siri and text to speech and all of that type of thing, right? And I should have, as a parent, said, no, you have to do it properly. But I'm like, no, no, that
Oh,
technology is there to support you.
yes.
There to support you. And you're never not going to have access to one of these. Like my math teacher, you won't always have a calculator. Well, suck it.
Yes.
If I do, you know what
Yes.
I mean? Like, and I think our system needs to catch up and we need to be able to support students. So everything that you just said there, and if I think back to, my own 8-year-old self at school, if I had have had a teacher knowing that I've worked really hard on something to send me back a video and go, oh my gosh, Gem,
Yeah, that's
for
right.
me, game changer, right?
Exactly.
I'm sorry that I got emotional,
No,
but
that's
really
okay.
sorry when
That's okay. I'm a teacher. I get it. I think it's really important for all of us, and especially educators, to understand that technology is we use technology every day, and without teaching these basic skills to our kids to solve a problem, well, it's just, you're doing them a disservice. Even teaching them how to comment and like. I mean, some schools have turned off all these features, and I'm like, well, this is an opportunity to teach them what a good comment looks like. This is an opportunity to show them what a good emoji means.
yeah.
And this is a life skill, right? I mean, I use my phone, like I'm going to Italy this year, and I've used my phone to do translation. You just highlight and do translate. I mean, I'm not going to go learn Italian, but I'm going to use my phone to tell me what it says.
Yeah.
So I just think it's part of our lives.
Yeah. And again, to your point, it's still the emojis and the GIFs and all of the things are still way of communication, right?
Yes.
And at the core of it, we're still humans that need to communicate. So you're not going to lose that communication skill. You're just using additional tools,
Yes.
and they are tools. We are
That's right.
still all human and we still need that interaction. And I
Yes.
think it's just amazing your philosophy on, okay, how do you pull all these tools in to support the student at where they're at, and giving your teachers license to actually consider and use different alternatives to support that child. Thank you.
Yes.
From me. If you were in Queensland, I would enroll
Yeah.
my child in your school. Glory, also something that I really want to ask is, do you have a collaboration space for your teachers, right? We know that there's Canvas Commons, and we know that sort of in different schools, teachers are building different things, and, you've still got Year 9 maths in every school, you know what I mean? How do you support your teachers around that?
Yeah, so our Canvas Commons is locked down just for our schools. So definitely, and they love that only our schools can see that. You'd think that they would want to, showcase the world. So that's fantastic. Using the conference every year, there's always a middle part where I have teachers showcasing what they're doing. So it's not just keynote speakers and whatever. It's actually, look what this school's doing, look what this school's doing, and then taking that on board and then sharing that. We also have a lot of days where we have groups, of course, in our Teams chats, and we have so many Teams groups that with different faculties, like there's a library group, there's the head of maths, and they all come together. There's a lot of days that we do professional learning together, and it may or may not be around about Canvas, but it's usually about teaching and learning, and then Canvas just pops in, and that's what it's all about, right? It's not just about the LMS, it's about the teaching and learning, and then bringing Canvas in. Oh, well, I do that in Canvas. Oh, well, how did you do that? Fantastic. So there's a whole range of things that we do.
And I think that's part of the reason why I wanted Beyond the Canvas to become a thing, right? I think that, yes, it's great that yours is just locked down to your school, and you completely understand that, right? But also, this is my opportunity to spotlight you guys and your teachers, and, because I exist in my role because of you, right? And there are ways that people are using Canvas that we probably haven't even thought of yet. Like I spoke to people that's using it for HSC compliance, right? And the way that they're using it's like, oh, no brainer,
Yes.
And I think that's the thing. Like, so coming back to the Canvas community, I was on it the other day. Gem, hype girl, K-12. But I've noticed that here in APAC that it's probably not as alive and as prevalent as it used to be, right? And so I sort of want to try and build that out. Do you know if many of your teachers use that or access that, or they don't need to?
I don't think so. It would be great to reinvigorate that. I don't think they are utilizing that.
Yeah. And I would love to showcase them, right?
Yes.
And even that, to your point of, because Canvas is one of those things that is set to enhance. And the fact that you've got City Labs in there, so you've removed a lot of that administration burden. And for the people who are not designers, who, as we discussed, putting yellow on neon pink, like
Yes.
beautiful, but
No.
it's not word art, right? So again, sort of how you've adopted that technology to support your teachers. But I think it's all of those little things that I would love to hear about as well. So, for me, at your particular conference, I would love to meet your teachers and
Yeah.
high
Oh, that'd
five
be so
them.
excited to meet you.
Also, something that I want to know is when you're doing that sort of feedback of the students, right? Can you see that there have been particular, or do your teachers come to you and go, oh, I was really struggling with this particular student. We saw the data, we saw that there was this. And do you utilize Canvas for a well-being opportunity at all, or?
No, that's one of the main goals for us this year, how we can do that for well-being.
Mhm.
We've got a lot of ideas for some LTIs, but it'll be great if we could do some well-being things in there.
Okay, watch this space.
Yes, please.
Reason being is because we're talking about this and beyond the canvas.
Mm,
And so there's some things coming. But for me, it's also, Canvas is a teaching and learning platform, right? But because there's some innovation taking place and all students are in it, it's about creating that consistency for also your teachers and your students. They're already using it, right? So how can we bring all of that in? Which
that'd
is
be
like, to
amazing.
your point, the LTIs, right?
Mm,
We just met with an organization that are fully using Google, and teachers are going to be reluctant to jump off that, but we integrate with Google,
yes,
we integrate with Microsoft.
that's
So
right.
again, when you've got new teachers come on board that have not had exposure to Canvas, how do you upskill them?
Well, it depends on where they're coming from. If they've come from Google Classrooms, then look, it's really easy for us because we integrate with our student management system.
Mhm.
So I'll say, well, that's great, but it can't do this. And so I do have this is what Canvas can do. This is what Google Classrooms can do. But because we have such an amazing integration, we had a developer write the code for us to do this integration from our student management system where teachers don't have to re-input the data back into their assessments or their school reports. Everything flows in, including comments. So that is really easy for me to transition them.
Yeah.
Well, this school uses Canvas because of this, and this is why it should be done, and this is how it can be done. Because Google Classrooms is very, very similar, and they're used to it. If they're used to Google Classrooms, then it's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's an easy transition
Yeah.
across.
Yeah.
And obviously you have a lot of students. Do you utilize sort of Canvas to communicate with parents, or do you find that many parents jump into the Canvas app? Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, we've got about 4 schools out of 20 that are ready to open up, or actually that have opened up Canvas observers. I think the problem that schools are having at the moment is consistency from courses. So making sure every course is consistent and keeping teachers accountable. So we're not saying, oh, well, my child's in year 7 and year 9 and they look totally different and they're not doing this. So that is first and foremost. And then once they've done that, we help them with single sign-on and having parents. That's all the technical stuff that we get done for them.
And I think also the thing is, because you manage it centrally, right? It's kind of, you've removed a lot of that pain
Oh,
because
yes.
you
You
do.
just tell me you want it and we'll put it on. Easy.
Gloria, you have been absolutely amazing answering all of my questions, and we even covered more than what I expected. And I think there are going to be so many people watching today that are absolutely going to have a lot more questions for you. And it's probably given you more work, but it's a testament to you, because I think it comes down to your drive, your passion, and just doing better. And you absolutely deserve that title of innovation, because you're doing it, right. And, the engagement that you have through your teachers and the champions, and again, like poster, 5 stars, like amazing. But we are going to get to one of my favorite parts, which are my hidden gem questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. What did you want to be when you grew up?
It's going to be cliche, but I always wanted to be a teacher. And I felt sorry for my little brother, who is 6 years younger than me, that always had to sit in my room holding a piece of paper and a pen. And I used to tell him what to do. So I always wanted to be a teacher. One time I wanted to be an air hostess, but then changed my mind. So definitely a teacher.
That is, you are the first person who I've interviewed who has said that they've wanted to be a teacher and is a teacher, and you are
Yes.
living it.
Yeah.
Like, That is really, really cute.
Yeah.
Was there a particular subject or was it just?
No, I just wanted to teach little kids. And then when I finished uni, I just didn't think I had enough. I didn't know what my ATAR was. Back then, it was in Victoria, so it wasn't an ATAR, but it was a score. And I thought, well, if I don't get to teach, that's fine. I'll just do preschools. And I went to look for childcares, and then I got my ATAR the same day as I got my license. I went, oh, wow, I can do this. Yay. So, yeah, I just got into it. Fell into it.
Well, congratulations. Next one. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, traveling all around Sydney, and if you know Sydney, it is a nightmare to travel. Sometimes I'm in a car for 6 hours a day. It takes me 3 hours to get to a school and 3 hours back. If I had a click of the fingers teleportal, that's what I would do, because there's just so much time wasted in a car. Like, you can do podcasts, you can read audiobooks, but if I could just teleport, that would be amazing.
I also the fact is that you want a superpower to enhance your efficiency at work.
Yeah.
Makes me lol. But yeah, no, I absolutely, being a rep out on the road and the amount of time that I spend in a car, Siri is my best friend.
Yes.
Because I tell her to do things for me, and with the use of AI and that kind of jazz. And that is my time to practice my car karaoke, along with have lengthy conversation. So I absolutely.
Yes.
Lastly, what is your favorite thing about Canvas?
My favorite thing about Canvas is the feedback tool. I think that's what sold me initially, and the fact that teachers can upload into Commons and share their work. Those two things are the deal breakers for me.
I love that. Those two things are my favorite. I think that Commons is completely being underutilized. And same again, I think that teachers have such an opportunity. Even, we had someone else talking about that they accidentally pressed the record button one day, right? And just discovered this whole new way of getting feedback, right? But again, I think that that is something that we should talk about more. So
yes, definitely.
High five. Glory Puljak, you have been wonderful. You are absolutely a hashtag role model of mine.
Oh, thanks, Gems. You are pretty cool yourself.
Oh, thanks. Can I please have some feedback on that through Canvas? But thank you so much for coming on today's show. I really appreciate all your great work, and thank you for driving all of that innovation and your Canvas champions. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye.